It is Friday, and I am so tired of being thoughtful and substantive. I don't want to read anymore, and so we're going to do just a fun episode. We're going to do a cathartic Friday release valve episode where we talk about what I believe are the best headlines of the week, and yet the most underserved headlines of the week. And to suss these out with me, I'm bringing on two very funny comedians that I know from New York City. Friends of mine, Lou Perez from We the Internet TV. How are you, Lou?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for giving me a reason to talk to another human being.
Lou, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you over Skype, and your beard is just magnificent. Oh my God, you look like a very handsome resurrected Fidel Castro right now.
Thank you so much. And you can't tell because my beard is so thick, but I am smiling right now. So thank you for the kind word.
I am so jealous that you can. So I go from like I can grow a good beard, right? I can grow a good beard, but 1 week after I grow that good beard, I look Amish. A week after that, I look like a grizzled Scottish seaman. And then a week after that, I look like maybe one of the drones didn't get me when I was up to nefarious purposes in the Middle East. So I have to be really careful. On the other, you've just got this really cool looking beard. I'm very jealous.
Well, thank you very much. I'm in a state where I'm very afraid to try to buzz it because I feel like it'll just wreck me. It's like under these circumstances, every single movement that we make, I'm now questioning whether or not it's going to like take years off my life or minutes off my life.
I think you need to go hardcore the other direction. I think the benefit to the time period we're living in, maybe the singular benefit, is that you can be as weird as you want and people will applaud you. If you're like, hey, you know what? I had this awesome beard and I decided I'm going to do a month as, Baron von Munchausen, and I'm going to have these crazy mutton chops and I'm going to grow up my beard, my mustache. Like, you could do whatever and people will be like, that's amazing. Good job, Lou.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, the most important person in my life, though, needs to be cool with it, and that's my wife.
Oh, yeah.
So
touché.
If I was a single dude living like an assassin,
yeah,
you could do all sorts of things at this weird time.
That's true. Which is exactly what I'm doing, just sculpting facial hair. And we are also joined by Joe DeVito. Joe is a very funny comedian in New York that I've known for several years. Joe, your handle is at Joe DeVito Comedy, I think, and you have a special out that listeners can listen to or watch.
I do. If you go to drybarcomedy.com/Joe D, you can watch it for free, and it's clean, so you can watch it if you're quarantining with some uptight people.
Nice. And I'll add to this just because people are now curious. Joe is very clean shaven. He looks very handsome. You even look like you maybe had a haircut recently. Huh?
I did. I cut it. My haircut looks like a mental patient right now because I'm doing it by myself. So I cut the sides and back. The back looks like someone else was cutting my hair and I had to run away from them because the back is very hard to do. If I can turn around here, you can see.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You've got like a sci-fi haircut. Like you look like you've got like an interesting uniform in your particular space cadet group.
It's a little Romulan-ish. So, but yeah, I cut off the beard and the sides because I realized that's where my gray comes in.
Yeah.
So I've removed all the gray from above the neck, and I thought, I look so young. And then I realized I still have the eyes of a 51-year-old man, so I look like a tired child.
Yeah, so me too. I also have the eyes of a 51-year-old man, which I think is just mounting sadness. I will in terms of like the like Zoom or Skype, which do you prefer? I'm like, whichever one develops a filter that removes the sadness from my eyes, that is the one that I will favor as the best system. Well, having introduced you to the audience, let's jump in and talk about some of the headlines of the week. From the great state of South Carolina, restaurant uses blow-up dolls to make restaurants look full, ensure social distancing. Open Hearth in Taylor, South Carolina, also wanted their restaurant to look as full as possible, so the owners ordered 10 blow-up dolls and dressed them like patrons, complete with wigs. The owners said they're also disposable menus and making sure the employees wear masks. I mean, I've been by myself for a while now. This strikes me as very normal behavior. I'm in a 500 square foot apartment and I have 300 blow up dolls. So that actually seems like it's kind of underpopulated by my standards.
I wonder if they talked to the staff and the staff was like, yeah, disposable menus, that makes sense. Masks totally makes sense. Hey, about the blow up dolls, you think maybe, how about this? Why don't we just get rid of some of the tables and we don't have to creep people out.
Yeah, do more of a Lady and the Tramp type thing as opposed to some weird sex cult prelude to the Bates Motel. That makes sense, Lou. I feel like you'd be good at running a restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that even sitting across from a blow-up doll, I'm still paying for dinner.
Yeah, I have to say things are like it right now. It's okay. Imagine if this were pre-COVID, how insanely creepy that would be. If you go into Denny's and like the Eagles is playing on loop, I don't know, some reasonably benign artist, and it's just a bunch of blow-up dolls and you'd be like, yeah, this is where I die. I die here in Hayworth, South Carolina, or wherever that was.
Well, and it's one of those things too. I don't know if there are any blow-up dolls that are just like generic blow-up dolls that don't have a sexual connotation to it. I've never seen like a blow-up doll that, hey, anybody, fun for the whole family. This blow-up doll that you can have. All the ones that I know, they have like that really weird open mouth that's just constantly open, and yeah.
No, that's a really good point. Like if there's like a grandmother sitting in the corner of that restaurant, it's a very specific grandmother that is one that you don't want your children to see.
Yeah, I think I would request a mask for the blow-up doll.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have one that someone gave me as a joke gift that I'm debating. I've never blown it up. It's in the box. That should I just throw this out? I mean, do you throw out a gift? Because I think if I blow that thing up during this quarantine and I do have sexual contact with it, there's no point in me rejoining society. That I've crossed a Rubicon. Like once you interact with one of those, I don't think there are people who have sex with those and women. You've made your choice.
No, that's a good point. It's not like I'm going on a hot date. Better practice. Don't want to.
Yeah, you're not toggling. You're not toggling between the two.
It can't keep your secret. Because people look at it and they know what your secret is right away.
Yeah. Why do you have that blow-up doll? Well, obviously, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant. That's why I've got it. All right.
It's called hospitality.
I will jump over to Washington State for a far less sexual story. Hundreds of Navy recruits quarantine at closed water park before basic training. And this is, I think the Navy is spending $1 million a week, which is probably cheap by Navy standards. Like, I don't know why they even included that. I imagine that's like a pretty good price tag, according to the Defense Department, to send 500 recruits each week to the Great Wolf Lodge water park near Chicago. And I read the story. It was something like it seemed like it made sense because they were quarantining people, but they still wanted to do basic training. I read that and I was just, if I had known that you could hang out at a water park during lockdown, I would have joined the Navy too. I feel like they lost a really good opportunity for recruiting.
Yeah, I think, I agree with that decision. And I think that when we look at the state of modern warfare, there's going to be a lot of flume rides involved. There's going to be a lot of splashing and raising your hands over your head. And do they get to keep the photo? Isn't there a photo that gets taken at the key moment when you're coming over in the water slide?
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like, we all know that the future battlegrounds are going to be Orlando, Fun Park, Arkansas, and parts of the Bahamas. Yeah.
Well, like Splash Mountain already sounds like a war zone, something like that. I can imagine like Jesse Ventura talking about SEALs training, to get ready for Splash Mountain.
Man, I bet there's like somebody's brother is right now quarantining at, Camp Awesome Fort Water Park in Washington. And meanwhile, that guy is doing boot camp in the Marines and he's like eating mud right now. They're like duct taping him to a propeller as hazing. He's got COVID anyway. It's just hell. And he's like, man, pick the wrong branch. You get a snappy uniform. I think Marines just, in my opinion, unquestionably have a snappier uniform, but apparently the Navy's more fun.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if you can really be considered battle ready after you've been doing that. Well, they're much heavier from the cotton candy and the corn dogs and that kind of fare. At least they're not standing in line. I mean, that's the worst part about those things. And I know that, do they have to maintain 6 feet of distance even when they do that?
I don't know. My impression is that they just were like, anybody have COVID? No, get in and get on the slide. They formed like an anti-COVID colony, which again I totally would have joined. If someone was like, hey, there's this lockdown thing's going to be a while, we're going to form a commune. Like I would have gotten in on that. That would have been great. Then again, I think didn't we all sort of think this was going to last 2 weeks? Like, I thought it was probably, they were like, yeah, symptoms are about 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, great, fortnight, got it. I'll stay in L.A., a city where I know no one. But I have all of my stuff, and that'll be a good mental health call.
Yeah, I have friends who still keep saying things like, yeah, it's going to be a rough month. A rough month? What are you talking about? I find it's hard now, even when I write down the date, to not check it on my phone.
Yeah.
I forgot that April happened. I'm stuck.
Yeah, yesterday I interviewed somebody, and I had to check. I wanted to make sure I got the time right, and I was like, it's like May 18th or something? Like, okay, so as I did that, by the way, I just looked at my new watch that I made. That's where I am in life.
You made a watch.
I made a watch. I assembled a watch, and it looks really cool, but it doesn't have a date on it anymore. So my wrist is more glamorous, but also I'm even less tethered to reality than I previously was.
Well, my wife and I decided to have a kid during this outbreak. So we measure time basically by weeks. So my son turned 7 weeks yesterday.
Oh, congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. So I don't know what month it is, but I know that 7 weeks have passed.
You know, you're supposed to bond with babies, right? I don't know a lot about kids, but I assume you're supposed to bond with them when they're pups. And man,
sure,
you nailed it, Lou. like that kid's absolutely going to remember you during the formative years.
You guys are making watches and babies. I made popcorn the other day, and I had to sleep for another 20 hours. I was exhausted.
That's enough for me, man. Good job today. All right, I'll jump over to Japan. Japan politician gets snappy after busted watching alligator video during diet meeting. And for anybody unfamiliar, the diet is their equivalent of parliament. And a ruling Liberal Democratic Party member was seen watching videos of alligators and snakes for about 5 minutes on his personal tablet computer during May 18th during a committee meeting. I read through this, and apparently this guy's like one of the first guys in the Japanese diet to get an iPad. And got caught on camera, just like they're doing some really intense debate about, pension plans for contract workers involving, I don't remember whatever the thing was, right? It sounded pretty boring. And they're just getting into it. And he's watching an alligator fight a snake for 5 minutes. And then they called him out and he's like, no, what? Okay, I watched 30 seconds of that. And then I was paying attention to the dialogue. It's just that I left the video running. And I'm like, honestly, I'm two things. First, given how much wanton destruction Godzilla has done to that island, I am never going to fault a Japanese official for keeping his head out against potential reptile attacks. I think that is a smart use of time and probably the best use of time. Second, it wasn't porn. Like, it could have been really weird porn, like weird tentacle porn. It was just a tentacle. Don't even make a thing out of this.
Well, I wasn't so much bothered by the videos as it was his masturbating that I thought was out of line. I think a little decorum.
Touche. Lou, what do you make of this?
Well, yeah, I wonder, the fact that they wrote about it, is this like the type of offense that you need to commit seppuku for, or... I mean, has this brought, shame and dishonor onto his family? Yeah,
I think like the entire Hiroshima precinct now has to avoid voting and can't eat gluten for 3.5 years as mourning for the faux pas that he committed in there. I would love to learn more about Japanese government. It would be interesting from historical, but the thing that I'm actually really curious to know is every once in a while I catch a Japanese game show. And they are crazy. Like they're amazing, but they're crazy. Like there was a show called 1 versus 100 for a while, which absolutely worth Googling. It's a brilliant, and they would just get a mob of 100 people to just sneak up on strangers and do weird stuff. Like an old guy will be carrying a bag full of groceries down the street, minding his day, walking down, and then all of a sudden 100 people come screaming out of trees and opening manhole covers, jumping out of dumpsters, screaming at this guy. He panics. They'll throw him onto a blanket and then fireman blanket the guy up for 30 seconds while chanting, and then they'll lightly set him down and scatter. And I'm like that. I think that would be illegal in America. But my theory is that I think in Japan, as long as you film it and put it in a game show, everything's legal.
Well, that would never work in the United States because we're an armed society.
Yeah, that's
and I don't care if they have 100 to 1. We're too fat to put up in any kind of blanket and then keep up in the air.
Yeah, that's a good point. They'd have to do a trust building exercise. They just
200 to 1.
Tip over an obese person and then catch them. Yeah, it wouldn't be as much fun.
Trust building exercise, and also build up your lumbar spine to be able to take care of it.
Over in France, French serial killer expert admits he made up his experience, even the murder of his non-existent wife. A famous author in France known as a serial killer expert, according to reports, divulged that most of his life and work are fake, including the murder of his non-existent wife. 67-year-old Stéphane Bourgeon told Paris Magazine that he sometimes I make films in my head, and I won't read the whole story, but it's impressive. Like, he claims that I think he's written like 18 books on serial killers. He claims he's interviewed Charles Manson. He said he was trained by the FBI. His wife tragically died because she was killed by a serial killer. That's what he got. All of it's bunk. He literally made all of it up. And I think this is what happened with Bob Woodward, isn't it? Isn't this the same? Is this just the French Bob Woodward?
Well, what's interesting about this guy is they said that he confessed his lies were driven by his desire to be popular. You know, because who are the most popular kids in high school? The serial killer experts. That's prom king right there.
You know that guy in a trench coat that is really pale but only wears black, and it makes him look cadaverous, and he knows tons of facts about Jeffrey Dahmer? We should absolutely pair him up with the Palm Squad. That's a good call. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too that he's one of these guys who gets caught, and he's still trying to position it as, you know, I did it for you. I just wanted that love. He's acting like it's some sort of opportunity for personal growth that he's really learned from the experience. And I was offended. I consider myself to be a serial killer expert. It never occurred to me to make up a dead wife for credibility.
Have you guys read John Ronson has a book called The Psychopath Test?
No.
Oh.
And it's a really good book. He's a great writer. And it's funny because this guy is claiming to be a serial killer, and all of his intentions seem to be the similar intentions to a psychopath. You know, sort of manipulation by coming up with a sob story. You know, keeping this lie going for a while. And Joe, just like what you said, like him kind of turning it on other people too.
Yeah.
Is he the guy that, like, I listened to a TED Talk one time where a guy had come up with, I think it was a psychopathy test, and he was going through it and he was like, wait a minute, like I got 7 out of these 10 things. And he was like, but I don't want to hurt anybody. It was like, he sort of had to acknowledge, like, yeah, apparently there are like psychopathic tendencies, but as long as you're below X threshold, you could be a gardener. Like, it's fine.
There was that doctor who was looking at brain scans of psychopaths, and he had put his own in as a control. Mm-hmm. And he saw one that matched, and he said, I can't tell who this is. And he stepped back from however they were double blinding and realized that he had the brain scan of a psychopath.
Whoa.
And as he looked, it was one of those things where I think he mentioned it to his wife, and she pretty much said, yeah, no kidding. Everybody else knew it but him. So I think what he learned was that for psychopathy, you have the biological component, and then if you don't have the head trauma and traumatic upbringing are the two other factors that will send you down the wrong path. So he had a good upbringing, and he did not have that physical trauma, so he was not a problem with his tendencies toward that. You know, I just saw an interesting movie.
If you've got kind of a screw-up kid with weird tendencies, make sure he wears a helmet. Like, if he goes bike riding, you're like, Bobby, you put on a helmet. We're not going to have a serial killer in this family.
Give him a body shot. Lay off the skull. But I just saw a movie called My Friend Dahmer. Have you guys seen this?
No.
It's about a guy who was friends with Jeffrey Dahmer in high school, and it tells you kind of how he was an outcast and this group of friends he hung out with. But the strange thing is it ends right before his first murder, and up until then, it's kind of a touching high school coming of age with a good soundtrack. And then at the end, I realized, but now he's going to go kill and eat people. So it left a little bit, I hate to say aftertaste, but it's an odd vibe.
That's such a, like, I would love to do more research on that. Like, I found out recently, this was, I think, in the 70s or the 80s. It was before I was around, but you've heard of the I think it's like the Texas University or the UT shooter, the guy that climbed up in the clock tower.
Charles Whitman.
And like, terrible event. He shot a bunch of college students. He murdered his family. And they, like, I didn't know this till recently. When they went through his effects, he had written this note that was like, it said, like, I want you to investigate my brain. I don't know what's happening. I love my wife and my mom. I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, I really need help. And they invest, and like, sure enough, he had like a giant growth in his head. And it was like that, like, which I have to say is terrifying, that you could be an otherwise good person and just go crazy. But anyway, that's a funny one. I'll you know what? I'm going to swing it back to probably the most benign story of this entire episode, which is 1 million people are pretending to be ants on Facebook. And it could be therapeutic. So I've been following this, actually. I subscribe to a couple of newsletters that, you know, compile the not horrible parts of the internet. And one of them has been following this development that there are, so I'm already familiar with this. If you're listening at home, you're unfamiliar with this. There's a Facebook page where people literally are doing like live action role play of being ants, where someone will like throw in a picture of a lollipop and be like, hey guys, I found this. And then thousands of people will be like, bring it to the queen, pick it up, lift. Like, they'll all show ant things, or someone will throw in a picture of a guy in an ant costume, and it'll be like, hey, I'm an ant. And they'll say, like, imposter. And then, like, 1,000 people will put in all caps, bite. And it's become this weird pastime. I think it's amazing. Like, I am of the opinion that the internet should only exist for stuff about dogs, Wikipedia, and goofy nonsense. Like, I would like, if you could scrap all of Twitter and just have people pretending to be ants, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Well, it's good now with Twitter, where with Facebook, where you can pretend to be an ant now instead of just pretending to be happy. So that's pretty cool. That
is a lot easier, Lou. That's a good point. I know how to go through the motions of being an ant. But the happy thing, where it's like, how you doing, Heaton? I mean, God, according to the actuarial tables, I got another. Jesus, 40 years of this. Great. Okay. Where's an ant? Yeah, I could fake that. That's pretty easy. Joe, are you part of the ant Facebook page?
I'm not. And I hear things like that. And I think, this plague is right on schedule. We're due. I don't think we have what it takes to be quality ants, because ants get things done. Ants know how to cooperate with each other, and ants, they're very industrious, and these are things that I think, I never thought, look at the virtues of the lowly ant, but I think we are. We're more like, who was it in this story? It was the grasshopper who was kind of screwing around and didn't save up. And that's another one of those stories that always made me mad, because in The Ant and the Grasshopper, when winter comes, don't they, he was fiddling while they were working. Don't they let him in? I think they should have left him outside to die.
That is almost, here's my guess. I don't know this for sure. My guess is that is an old German fairy tale, where in the German version, the ants let the ants laugh and drink cognac while the grasshopper withers away and dies just outside the window, and then they and then all of the grasshopper's children are eaten by tigers or something, and then Hanna-Barbera was like, a little too German. We're just gonna have a nice little reprieve at the end.
I think it'll be tough too to be ants, because they worship their queen, and we are, steadfast against monarchy here. So,
but what if
we make it Beyonce? Maybe if we make it Beyonce.
Beyonce.
What if it were a Yas queen?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Much more popular.
Well, actually, on that note, then, Lou, on the subject of royalty or ex-royalty, frankly, I don't know how this works anymore with Prince Harry, but Prince Harry is friendless and unemployed in L.A. and misses having structure. I read through a little bit of this. I got to say the parallels are striking between me and Prince Harry. We both moved to Los Angeles, I believe, in the same month. He came out here in January. I came out late January. And he moved out here, thought he'd start an interesting new life, immediately got shut down by lockdown. I mean, really, the only differences between me and Prince Harry are he's married to Meghan Markle and royalty. Otherwise, we are pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think I think when it comes down to the relationship, she played it very well, because she got the princess wedding, and then after she got that, she's like, I'm not going to be a princess. We're not going to be royalty. And this dude's like, okay, I guess I'm not going to be a prince anymore. Let me be unemployed in LA. She won.
Man, he needs to start a podcast. That is the order of the day, is what he needs to be working on. Is he still?
Yeah.
Do you guys know, is he still a prince or not? Because I feel like there was this. I kind of keep I know stuff about the Queen and I know stuff about Prince Philip, but I don't follow like, kind of day-to-day gossip of the royal family. But I see tabloids in grocery stores and they're like, they've quit being Prince and Princess. I'm like, well, then why is everybody calling him Prince? Like, I feel like he should be Mr. Windsor now. If they're like, did he just have to it? Was he like, I'm still a prince, I still want the title, I'm just not going to like go to the barbecues anymore? I don't really fully understand what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't think he's technically a prince anymore. And as far as the royal jewels go, she's got her hand on those. I mean, she's completely emasculated. She's rotting him out from the inside. She's coring him out, and all that's going to be left is like a Prince Harry suit at some point that she's going to eventually discard. She's destroyed. The next thing for them is going to be her, pegging him on some sort of live streaming platform. That it goes to show, like, who had it easier than him? He was a prince. His job was showing up and being celebrated. He even had done a little bit more. He'd done his tours of duty, I think, in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. He had a good life, and a bad woman came in, and she's going to tear him apart and then leave him when she gets bored, and he won't even be a prince anymore. She's going to turn him into a pile of dust.
My theory is slightly more optimistic, Joe. What I think is going to happen is they are going to get divorced. He's going to spiral for a couple of years, pick himself up, marry a divorced princess that already has 2 kids, and put together a happy, responsible life, different than that which he thought he'd be living.
That's a Hallmark movie right there. Love it.
I would totally watch that one, The Divorced Prince. That sounds pretty fun. I would get a kick out of that. All right, our final story comes to us from the great nation of Texas. The headline reads, "A stripperless strip joint, Texas club wins fight to reopen with major restrictions." So I won't read the whole story, but basically a Club Onyx. And I'm going to preface all of this with an aside. When I was working in Dallas here last year, I had to drive through the stripper district, and all of the names are awful. They're all horrible. Like, they're all really bad. I can't even remember the puns, but it was like EX. TSY XTC, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like basically you need to come up with, like, I would maybe go to a place called like the Slippery Tipple Gentlemen's Club, like if it had some element of like whimsy to it and not just exploitative sadness for both the men and the women. Maybe also there was a place I drove by every day that I'm still baffled by. It was called Condoms to Go. And I would drive by that every day and go, as opposed to what? What is the other option that you... Anyway, I digress. So in Texas, Club Onyx, it's in Houston. They were temporarily shut down with the lockdown orders like most of the other establishments in the state. The owner has reopened it because of the staging of reopening in Texas. They're allowing for restaurants, but they're not allowing for entertainment. And so he got in trouble because he was like, we serve, low-grade chicken wings and tacos. And so they opened up the restaurant again, and the government was like, you can't do that. You're a strip club. And he was like, fine, here's what we'll do. Keep selling those low-grade tacos and those questionable chicken wings. We'll make all the women wear clothes. Which, at this point, he just has a bad restaurant, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've never thought of a strip club where I looked at them and thought, what, they could use a little curbside service. That's what I want.
Curbside strip club.
And I don't like any strip club unless it's specifically named in a Motley Crue song. That's where I draw the line for their. I'm not here for the wordplay.
I want to meet the owner because I just imagine him like, he said, when I opened up this place, my first love was cooking. My second love was titties. And now you're taking one of my loves away from me.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this at all. I've been to 2 strip clubs in my life. I went to one for a bachelor party, and the other one I went to right after I went to the Royal Ascot in England while wearing a top hat and morning coat because the 2 guys I was with, one was a married dude and one was engaged, and they were like, we should go to a strip club. And I was like, all right. So we show up like literal cartoon characters wearing top hats, and in both instances, I didn't like it. Like, maybe I'm a prude. I don't think I'm a prude. I felt like, I don't know. I felt like there were a bunch of kind of women being taken advantage of by a situation and a bunch of very sad men being taken advantage of by the women. It just the whole place just kind of skeeved me out. Didn't like it at all. So
was Ascot spelled with 2 S's? Did they go that far?
Yeah, it was the Royal Ascot, which as you know is an imperial twerking competition started by Queen Victoria. It's been taken over by the royal twerking dancers. Yeah, So I don't think what I would be interested in though is I would go to a restaurant if it was just, hey, we just have hot girls that are like kind of scantily dressed and they just pretend to like stuff you like. That's it. They'll just sit next to you and like pretend Star Trek's interesting. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd go do that. Like basically a Mormon strip club is what I'm saying. I would go to a Mormon strip club. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I would go to a Hooters if it was more about validating my life choices. I don't need to see cleavage, but I just need a girl to bend over and say, it's good that you didn't go to grad school. And then I would get whatever passes for an erection from me these days.
You guys are comedians. That's so adventurous. I'm really impressed and interested. Wow. That's yeah. I would do that.
So much better than being good at sports.
Wait, so to bring this back full circle, could that guy just cram a bunch of blow-up dolls in the strip club and not clothe them? Like, because the other guy put wigs on them and stuff. If this guy just had naked strip club dolls, wouldn't that just be a restaurant at that point? I don't know. I'm gonna talk to my blow-up doll Texas lawyer expert friend. I'm sure that there's like a whole wing of very interesting nipple law that I'll crack wide open and talk to on another thing. I'll cap it off there, guys. Guys, it was really fun talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show. Lou Perez, you are the host of We the Internet TV, which does a variety of very funny videos that people should go check out. And anywhere else people can follow you, Lou?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Lou Perez.
Mm-hmm. And Joe DeVito, you have a special out that is available where again?
It's drybarcomedy.com. And go to there. It's /Joe D. And it's a clean comedy company. So if you get the app, you can watch on your devices. They have I think like 100 specials, some really good comics. You can watch it for free. And on social media, it's at Joe DeVito Comedy. And I tweet my little jokey jokes on a pretty regular basis.
Great. Thanks, guys.